I might need to move to Atlantis.
What positions do Manchester United need to improve in this summer's transfer window? Episode 2. For cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to www.jerseyfever.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code atlantisfootball to get 5% off. So in the first episode of this series, which will be linked in the description, I talked about the players I would sell from the United squad, so you may want to watch that for some context. I decided to break down the analysis of the areas United need to improve into two parts, which will be this video, episode 2, and the next video, episode 3 in the series. So make sure you subscribe, as a lot of you watching probably aren't subscribed yet, and click the bell to get notified when the rest of the series is released. So before discussing the specific areas that need improving, I think it's best if I go over how I think United should approach this window. In the previous episode, I talked about how United could raise around £60 million with those specific player sales, whilst also getting some big wages off of the books. That means it is reasonable to expect United to spend anywhere from £130 to £170 million, depending on who else could potentially be sold, or maybe some great long-term deals that could arise in this market. Obviously, Manchester United could spend as much as the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea have in recent seasons, upwards of £200 million, to completely revamp their squad. However, as we know, the Glazers aren't going to do this, so rather than even bother suggesting this sort of transfer strategy, as I did last season, I'm going to go with a more conservative, realistic approach. That means that signing individual players for £80 to £90 million plus is pretty much out of the question, as United need a lot of surgery on this squad, so blowing that sort of money on one player is just going to deplete the budget for other areas. Also, I'm not even sure that United's board have the ability or the will to go out and sign stars like Haaland or Sancho, so I'm not even going to bother suggesting them. Right, so what are the problem areas in this United squad? Well, I think the obvious place to start is at centre-back. Right now, I think United are in a similar position to the one that both City and Liverpool were in before they signed the likes of Laporte, Ruben Dias and Van Dijk. When Pep first came to City, he had Stones and Otamendi at centre-back, who were competent defenders, but we saw over the course of a whole season that there were games where they made mistakes, and when Laporte came in, City improved drastically. And then when Diaz was brought in this summer, City's defensive system went to a completely different level. The same can be said for Liverpool and the impact of Van Dijk, which we've all seen firsthand. United have three pretty good centre-back options in Maguire, Lindelof and Bailly, and one decent centre-back who looks like he can improve and potentially be a starter in Tuanzebe. However, United don't have that top level centre-back and haven't for some time, probably since the days of Ferdinand and Vidic. Maguire, in my opinion, is the best of these four. Apart from at the start of the season when he looked atrocious, I think he's been the most reliable centre-back for United this season, and his only major weakness comes when he gets isolated in one-on-ones in the channels versus quick attackers. He's also an excellent carrier of the ball with his dribbles from deep and passes into the final third as seen this season, as he has completed a total of 162 passes into the final third, the sixth most of any player in the league. Many may say that Bailly is a better defender, but the problem with Bailly, which has been consistent over the past 4 to 5 seasons, is that he's far too injury prone, missing far too much football with minor injuries, and when he does play he seems to always have a mistake in him, which seems to come about every 6 to 8 games or so, which means to me that he's got to be the third choice centre back who can come in when needed, but I don't see him being a reliable option and certainly not the top level centre back that United need. Lindelof is an interesting one. I do think that he has a potential to be top class with his one-on-one defending and his on-the-ball ability being very impressive. However, we've seen that he is a liability in the air, and an example of this was against West Brom, from where he's easily bullied when the cross comes into the box, which leads to the West Brom player scoring from the header. I also don't think Lindelof suits Maguire or Bailly's style of defending. I wouldn't class either as front foot defenders who are going to step out of the back line assertively to make an interception from a pass or make a tackle, and Lindelof certainly isn't this either. He's very passive in his defending, and we saw this against Leicester where he backs off far too much, dropping too deep and allowing the shot from the edge of the box, which ends up going into the bottom corner when instead he should have moved out quicker to deal with the immediate threat. So in terms of a centre-back, United do need to be looking for an elite defender, someone who is commanding and aerially dominant, but also is a front-foot defender who can complement either Maguire or Bailly next to him. On-the-ball ability is important as well, with incisive and long passing ability being something I will be looking for. If United could bring in the right centre-back, they could potentially offload Lindelof to raise further funds, as I think he could bring in at least £35 million in this current market. This would leave them with the new centre-back alongside Maguire, with Tuanzebe and Bailly as the two very good alternatives. The next area that I think United can improve is at right back. Now people are going to question this, as Wan-Bissaka is without doubt one of the best, if not the best, defensive fullbacks in the world. However, the problem for United has been Wan-Bissaka's attacking output, which is very average when compared to the likes of Luke Shaw, Andy Robertson and some of the other top level fullbacks in Europe. Wan-Bissaka in possession is very clumsy. He often takes a few touches to get the ball under control and doesn't have that sharp movement or ball control to move the ball quickly, exchange passes and then drive the ball forward down the right flank like we see Luke Shaw do on the other side. When we look at their dribbles compared, it's actually not that different, as Shaw completes 1 dribble per 90 whereas Wan-Bissaka completes 0.8 per 90. However, Shaw is far better at playing 1-2s, receiving the ball and driving into space, which isn't considered a dribble but is just as effective at progressing the ball. The major difference, however, comes in the final third. All of these stats I'm about to show you are all based on this season in the Premier League. Shaw completes 2.2 key passes per 90, the most of any fullback in the league, whereas Wan-Bissaka completes just 0.7 per 90, the 28th most of any fullback. Shaw has an expected assist rate of 0.24 per 90, the most of any fullback, whereas Wan-Bissaka has an expected assist rate of just 0.07 per 90, a lower rate than the likes of Matthew Loughton and Luke Ayling. Shaw has also made a total of 36 passes into the penalty area this season, the 22nd most of any player in the league, whereas Wan-Bissaka has made half of that with just 18, sitting in 93rd place in the league. So these metrics all show how when it comes to offensive output, Wan-Bissaka is definitely not top level as Shaw is. People are going to say that it doesn't matter because his defensive ability makes up for it. However, this just isn't the case. In the modern game, and in particular at a club like United, who more often than not are going to be tasked with breaking sides down, the offensive ability of their fullbacks is just as, or even arguably more important than their defensive output, and as such, United need to find a way of improving their offensive output from that right side. However, this doesn't mean that I think Wan-Bissaka should be sold. I think he's a very good option for specific games when tasked with defending against a left winger like Sterling or Son. However, in certain games and certain parts of games where United are dominating, having an alternative to Wan-Bissaka in the right back position is going to make a huge difference. It would also give Solskjaer the option of using a 3 at the back system more consistently, as right now United don't really have a viable option to play in the right wing back position, with Wan-Bissaka and James not good enough to play there for a sustained period of games. Diego Dalot, in my opinion, is potentially a top level right back, but at the moment is not the level United need. I spoke about what I'd do with him in the first episode, so I won't go over that again. You can check that video out after this video. I'll leave it on the end screen if you are interested. So those are the first 2 positions I think United need to improve. I will talk about the others in the next episode. I wanted to analyse each position in depth, but didn't want each video to be super long, so that's why I'm doing it in 2 parts. After that video is done, the rest of the episodes will be analysing the specific targets for each position, as I am currently doing for my Chelsea transfer series. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notified when the other episodes in this series come out, as sometimes YouTube doesn't put the videos on your home screen. Check out the description for more videos as well, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content.